welcome to episode 4 of Armchair Quarterbacks. I'm Tim.
I'm Richard.
And we have good stuff for you today. We will start off with the most interesting thing that we did with AI over the week. We're going to talk a little bit about hiring your first salespeople, and then on the back end of this discussion, we're going to get into some macroeconomic questions. So stick around. All right. Why don't you start with your most interesting use of AI this week?
AI use of the week. Yeah. So, again, I'm not sure anything that I'm doing is unique in terms of its use of AI. I merely am offering uses that I've done that make sense. So one thing that happened to me this week is I got kind of perturbed at a client, and it was time to terminate that relationship, time to fire a client. And never do anything in anger, right? We all know that if we write an email, we should sleep on it and not send it right away. So what I did is I wrote the email the way I wanted to write the email, right? So I wrote the emotional email, and then I knew enough to copy and paste that into ChatGPT, and I said, write this more professionally. I knew it was not a professional
Pretty
email
hot.
the way I'd written it, and I wouldn't say it was overly hot. It just was not what I want to be known for. It's not what, in this world, any content that you send out can be shared and bite you in the butt and whatever. And I did not want that to be associated with me. So I asked my friend ChatGPT to clean it up and make it more professional and make it more what I would want to send. And it did. And it gave me a couple of choices of that. I think I ended up with a third choice because there were parts and pieces I liked. I put it back together a second time, passed it back through. It gave me one more alternative, and I think I ended up with parts and pieces of all three. But it came out nice. It came out smooth. It came out clear. It came out clear and focus, I guess, are the same. It came out clear, and it was something professional and appropriate. So I sent that off.
Did you get a response from the client?
I got a response from the client where they were asking for one more deliverable. I ignored the email.
Yeah. It's interesting do you typically first create a draft and then ask ChatGPT or some other LLM to improve it, or do you use your LLM as a brainstorm, or both?
I almost always good question. I almost always start with my draft. Proposals. Use it all the time on proposals. So I'll write like what I want to say, and here's my understanding of your needs, and what we can do to help, and next steps, and blah blah blah. Write that up, right? Richard's thoughts, and then I have it make it sound better.
Yeah.
Every single time it sounds leaps better, not just a little better, like, holy crap, I wish I could write like that. So it is my research assistant. It is my writer.
Yeah.
I consider it my writer, but just like a staff, I can't just say, write a proposal. I say, here's what I'd like to say. Make it into English.
Right.
And it does a fantastic job at that.
Yeah. And interestingly, prior to hitting record on this, Richard and I were talking about one of the ways that I use ChatGPT, and I have fed a lot of information about our business into ChatGPT, including our brand voice. So now and I had it save it, right? So now when ChatGPT writes, it writes in a very specific brand voice. And as I was demonstrating this for Richard, another thing came up with the way I organize um, my request of ChatGPT is in projects, and I have come up with personas: chief marketing officer, chief technical officer, chief legal officer, VP of HR, and a bunch of others. And I go in there, and that's where I make these requests, and I save them as specific requests within um, the chief marketing officer project that I have. One of the things that I've done is I've provided specific instructions on how I want blog posts to be written. I want key takeaways first. I want it to be SEO and AEO, so AI focused and optimized. Um, and now all of the blog posts on our website are pretty consistent. They're written in the same way, in the same voice, with the same structure, which I believe will help readers sort of navigate our content. So there's a tip for those of you that are looking to use ChatGPT or another LLM differently. The other thing that's allowed me to do is I can now prompt ChatGPT and say, give me instructions that I can give to another LLM to capture our brand voice. It'll come out and give me something pretty detailed that I can then give to another staff member or a partner or a contractor and have them replicate sort of the same voice. So again, everything's consistent, but it doesn't have to be in my ChatGPT instance. And all of this is not the cool thing that I did this week with ChatGPT, which started directly after recording last week, and it was Richard's idea. So I'm going to challenge his thought that he doesn't do things interesting with ChatGPT. So I run a company called Integrate IQ, and again, a bunch of information has been fed into ChatGPT around our business, so it has a pretty good understanding of the business. It understands financials, our contracts, marketing, sales. It's connected to HubSpot, which is our CRM. So it really has a pretty diverse understanding of our go-to-market, what's being purchased, what our ideal customer profile is, so on and so forth. Richard had a great idea at the end of our recording last week and said, "Why don't you prompt ChatGPT to come up with an avatar for the business?" And I thought, well, that's kind of goofy, but interesting. And we did, sitting here together, took 90 seconds. The avatars were great,
But
not nearly the coolest thing about this. The next prompt was, explain each design element that you chose and why. And my God, from the colors to genders to the coffee cup the avatar is holding to the design behind the avatar, to the Quinn is the name of the avatar, which I love. I think it's perfect. Quinn the integrator. Every detail was thought through thoroughly, and every detail had meaning to it.
the character had rolled up sleeves, and that was but a collared shirt, and that was to give professional but casual, right? So yeah. I mean, every decision element had a reason.
Keep going. It was insane. So yeah. So for those of you that have or are considering a company and maybe have fed some information into an LLM so that it's beginning to understand that business, that's a great exercise. Please create an avatar for the business and then explain all of the design elements that you chose.
I did exactly that for a client of mine. And then when asking it, the amount of insight about the client just based on the design choices. Oh, it's a floating individual because of this, and it looks a little ghostish because of this, and there's a glow around the head because of this, and so each one of these because ofs were like something for me to consume that was a fundamental truth about the client, at least in the terms of the LLM. And so you could go back to the client and say, I noticed this, I noticed this, I noticed this, which are all kind of subjective things, right?
Yeah.
All qualitative things that that then they're like, oh my God, that's so insightful. And it was completely pulled from ChatGPT.
Yeah. It's true though. It's I was the guy in class. We'd read a book or watch a movie and then analyze that in class.
Mm.
And there was these people that would come up with all this deep meaning, and I would be like, I don't know. It was a book about a dude that was trying to kill a whale, and it ate his foot. And of course, there's text and subtext and subtext, and I just never was good at that. So it was really fun to have an LLM feeding back how it sees the brand, and I was just so delighted with how it's seeing the brand. I felt it was dead on accurate. Actually took the results and posted it in an all company Slack channel and got all sorts of. It's about time we had an avatar, and that's all that looks great, and how are we going to use it, and so a
picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to use it yet, but we will. Absolutely. I'll give one more AI story, and then we can move on to our topic today. And the AI story is I've been working today on HubSpot's come out with this new go-to-market strategy called loop marketing, and it is a fundamental shift in how marketers think about bringing their business to market and communicating to prospects and customers. It's a huge shift at the core of who HubSpot is. And one of the things that I am going to do is write a playbook, a loop marketing playbook for 4 or 5 industries that we interact with frequently, so that our prospects and customers can get a sense of how to practically implement loop marketing in their business. This is what's called a lead magnet, right? So we will post this on social and on our website, and we will drive people through excerpts of this to our website. They'll fill out their name and email address that we will use to further communicate with them and move them along a funnel or a loop where we are providing. And by the way, the loop looks like an infinity symbol.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've seen them more like the purchase path always is like this loopy circle.
Right. Yeah.
They took the funnel and they made it 3D was my first impression. But okay, this is different.
It is different, and it's very practical. Loop marketing. Read about it. There's tons of information now available on HubSpot's website, including a playbook. Anyway, I partnered with ChatGPT to create an outline, to begin to write against that outline. And frankly, it went terribly. It was horrible. It knows our brand voice. It knows how to write. I've directed it at several places to get additional information. And man, it was like pulling teeth to try to get it to consume information on loop marketing and then apply it in this instance to this vertical market. I don't know why it is, but it was a struggle that took all day to do this. Now, I did end up with, after I lay it out, it'll probably be a 20-page playbook. It's 9 pages of kind of single line text now. That's, after all day, structured pretty well and makes good sense. But man, it was a fight the whole way. So even with all the effort that we've put into ChatGPT and getting it to write like us and understand our business, still it can take a long time to get the result that you're looking for.
2 questions.
Yes, sir.
It would be interesting to me. I guess these are not questions, but two potential paths to answer my curiosity, which is why I thought it was a question. Number one is, would Claude or another LLM do a better job?
Great question.
So maybe pit the two against. The second is to ask ChatGPT, hey, this has been a real struggle to get to an answer. What do you think is in our way to get to an answer?
Yeah.
As I would a staff person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Great question.
If I'm not connecting with a staff person, and like I said, I keep thinking of ChatGPT as a staff person in certain cases, that's a conversation I would have.
Yeah.
Right? Sit down and be like, man, we are not clicking right now. Yeah. What do you think's in our way? Yeah. I'd be intrigued to find out if it could answer that. It's always positive. It's always like, you're right. And then it says something, sometimes trite. So maybe put it in deep thinking mode and be like, here's a list of the places you went off track or you didn't deliver according to my expectations or whatever. What do you think the common theme is and how do we fix that for next time?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just, I would be really curious what its answer is.
Yeah, I'll try that. I'll try that after.
I'd be really curious.
When you write with ChatGPT, do you use it in a canvas or do you just do the prompts at the bottom of the page?
I don't know what a canvas is, so I must just use it in the prompts at the bottom of the page.
Okay.
I open up a new thing and where it says, what would you like to whatever today? I'm like, write the following better.
Yeah.
Now, it makes all sorts of assumptions as to what the word better means, right? Or write it more professionally or write it whatever, right? So, but a lot of times it's just, write this better. And that's all the prompt necessary to improve over me because I'm that bad a writer.
CFO.
I'm a CFO.
So
yes, tell me more about
there's a bunch of ways to engage, right? And one is the way you do it. Just put a prompt at the bottom of the page and have it do its thing. If you're writing something like maybe a lengthy blog post or a white paper or this playbook that I was writing today, I want the opportunity to put in a prompt, get a result, and then edit that result and have ChatGPT learn from that. So that's what you do with the canvas. You get the prompt area that shifts to the left, and the canvas that you can edit is on the right, and you can edit certain sections of it, like, hey, paragraph 3 sucks. Make it more detailed. Look at this resource and use that resource in recalibrating paragraph 3. And then it'll edit what it wrote as opposed to completely rewriting it. I find often when I ask it to rewrite it, it's totally different. And I'm like, no,
I liked everything but this section.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I have a hard time getting back to the beginning. So in this thing, the playbook today, I actually had to delete a whole section within one of my projects and say, just start over. I was really frustrated.
No, I don't write anything that long. You still read.
Yeah.
I say that in that way because so many people don't. And I have had to, and this is now for more than a decade, since at least, when was I at Digital Kitchen? At least 2012, when it became absolutely necessary. Like I thought it up until that point. And
what reading was
is what I'm about to say. I had to totally change the way I wrote, the way I communicated. The CEO was like, Richard, you talk backwards. Tell me more. And he's like,
more me tell.
You like more me tell. He said, you tell me the stuff before you get to an answer. Can you flip that around and tell me the answer and then tell me how you got there? And that has absolutely changed my communication style. I mean, after he said it so explicitly, I saw before all the times when CEOs were like pulling it out, frustrated, whatever, because they're like, get to the point.
Yeah.
And especially in today, and I think it's absolutely worse now
100%
than it was in 2012.
Yeah.
And it was for the probably 10 years leading up to 2012 while I was learning but not implementing that change. So now I always start with not an executive summary. Even that's too many words. Yeah. You should do blank. Why the hell should I do blank? Let me tell you why.
Here's why. Yeah.
Right? Without that, so someone pointed out
that's really good.
At that, it was about that same time. Because remember, we still read newspapers back then. It was about that same time when someone pointed out that in a newspaper story, that the entire story is in the title. The entire story is in the first paragraph. The entire story is in the whole article. And that really, the first paragraph is just restating and building on slightly the headline. And the rest of the article is building upon the first paragraph of the article.
Yeah.
And that's the way I write now. And so if anything is longer than about a page, I have found that no one reads it.
It's really interesting.
There are still what I call long form readers, long form writers. You're one. There's another guy, Adam is one. You've met Adam, that are long form readers and writers.
Yeah.
There's two of you.
Yeah.
In my circle.
Yeah.
That's why I think in PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Because if I can't boil it down to a few PowerPoint slides, no one has the time to listen.
Yeah.
Now, maybe in your world, they have the time to listen. No one wants to listen to me for longer than 30 seconds.
It's interesting. So I definitely want people to read this playbook and use it and implement it. I believe that it will add lots of value. A core reason that I did this, that I created it, was for SEO and AEO content on the website. So it will be a lead magnet, and there'll be some summary, some tiny summary that we put up on social that says, if you want to read more, go check it out.
Bada bing.
Over to the website they go, and I'll probably be behind some kind of paywall. The paywall will be, first name and email address, and it's always a Gmail or some bullshit throwaway email address. But at least there's some way to communicate with them. And at the end of the day, hopefully it's useful. But also the SEO and AEO, driving people to our website, traffic goes up. That's good. And then if it's somewhere on the website, then hopefully more people will discover us. So, yeah.
When I teach at the U, I don't even assign books anymore because they don't read.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
They don't read the decks I put out, right? I have to go through them and spoon feed them.
Yeah, man. They don't read the decks that you put out. It's crazy.
Dr. Alan Leong used to have it because we had a short book. He wrote a short book and he had me contribute a bunch. So that's why I say it was his book. But I like to steal other people's successes and make them my own.
Sure.
He would get tons, and I would be there in class sometimes when he would get questions from people of stuff that he clearly laid out in the book. And he said, he would often say, it's really not a good thing to point out to your professor that you've not even cracked open the book that he wrote to support the class. Like he would dig the knife in. I have learned just to say, it ain't going to happen. I'm not going to fight it. So
it's an interesting conversation for me because the blog post prompt, the way I train ChatGPT, is to begin with key takeaways for the blog. And then blogs are, ours are 400 or 500 words. Pretty long blog posts. But the key takeaways is 5 or 6 bullets. That's 100 words up front. Again, very much about AEO and SEO. So the other thing, this is turning into an AEO and SEO episode. So that's about driving visibility, and getting content out there. The way we end, so a couple things around AI exposure and optimization. Use a number up front. So a number in the title, 7 takeaways, 8 strategies, whatever, and include an FAQ. Even in blog posts where there's 4 or 5 FAQs that are question and answer format, so that AI can pick those up and answer specific questions from it, because that's what AI is looking for.
We got to do a segment on this.
Different from SEO. It's really interesting.
I'm going to take a note. No, I will. Let's circle back. I will watch this podcast and circle back to that.
Excellent. Great.
Because I think we're writing them a little wrong then, for sure.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
I'm happy to share my blog post prompt with you.
Oddly enough, in many cases, I'm back to 7th grade writing. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them.
Oh,
5 bullets up front, the meat of it that builds upon those 5 bullets. And usually it's like 3 bullets, because 5 is too many nowadays. 3 bullets up front, build out the 3 bullets, and then takeaways, which are essentially just the 3 bullets.
Yeah. And you're doing the takeaways at the end.
Yeah. But the bullets, so that people then read the meat, and then if by the end of it's 1-page article, but if they kind of have lost track by the end, I restate it.
So you need to get that content into the world, right? You need to make people aware that that content exists on your website. What do you post on social for that? Like, do you post the whole thing, or the bullets, or?
Ava posts some sort of summary or tagline or something, that
a
hook, and then attaches the whole article.
Attaches a link to the whole article?
In some cases, she attaches the whole article if it's just light and breezy.
Yeah.
Or if it's something meaty, then she's like, to read more, click. And then same thing, a paywall of email address or whatever.
Yeah, interesting.
Again, my desire is to not generate leads from my website or any of my marketing activities. It's all about credibility. So that when someone hears about me through word of mouth, or some other way that I'm already in their consideration set, or there's kind of, they've been hit a couple times in the cloud. Not that I don't need any one thing to hit, but just like, I've kind of heard of these guys, or they're like, Richard can do this for me. Let me go look. And it'd be like, oh yeah, look, he's got content. He's got blah, blah. They won't even, I'm not even expecting them to read it. Just, it gives me credibility to have a pile of stuff.
Yeah. You're legitimate. So
it's the 90s.
In the before times, before AI, I would often describe a sales cycle as increase visibility, right? So make sure people know, or are aware of your brand, of who you are and what you do.
Awareness.
And this is all going to be, there's lots of different words for it. So
I'm just putting it into words I can understand.
That's correct.
Yes, I'm translating for my brain.
Then credibility, which is what you just described.
Okay.
So you get the word out, people start coming to your website. Once they get to your website, they need to believe that you can do what you say you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to have a good sales cycle, or a good sales process, so that you take those, now what I'll call marketing qualified leads, and you turn them into sales qualified leads and run them through a process to closed won, closed lost. That is resolution. And then after that, operationalize it. People will remember their first experience, their first purchase experience. So have a really good onboarding process. Even if things go to shit after that, if you have a really good onboarding process, they will anchor to that and tell other people about their experience with your brand. And then it's rinse and repeat, right? So now you have a customer, you've onboarded them, you've delivered your whatever solution it is. And now you begin again and build on that with cross-selling and upselling, seeing how else you can help that customer, or who else in their network you can support in the same way. Now we don't have to have a sales episode.
Yeah. Now, the reason I was kind of cheekily smiling there as you were talking is I have, in fact, I've been getting a lot of leads lately, a lot of word of mouth, like you need to talk to Richard. And so I have taken the opportunity to flip the customer acquisition cost into really, I'm okay with increasing it to make sure there's a real LTV, long-term value to that customer. And so I have kind of flipped it, not that am I qualified for them, I am qualifying them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't tell you, not just has it worked. So this earlier I was talking about firing a client. That was kind of pre-firing client, during our, and it's almost like a form of onboarding, but it's still customer evaluation. So during our customer, I think the way we being ChatGPT and I ended up writing is, during our client acceptance process, I'm sorry, but we've determined that you're not a fit.
Nice.
And I've done that early. Like, I don't think this is a fit for me or whatever. I should have done it in that case. But what's odd is I'll have people circling back to me. I'll have others reach out. The bankers that are giving me leads actually are giving me as much or more. They feel like somehow this process of me being choosy has made me seem like I'm someone that they should definitely point people to.
Yeah.
It's had the opposite effect of, it's almost like a Veblen good, where the increased demand
almost
is
like a what?
I believe the term is Veblen good. So like a good scotch, where the price tells you something, tells the consumer, rightfully or wrongfully, tells the consumer about its quality or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So there were cases, certainly in American scotch being sold in Japan, where the price was super high because of import tariffs, which we can talk about later. Import tariffs into Japan. And then those tariffs were negotiated away. And so the Scotch manufacturer said, I'll just lower my price and we'll clean up. They lowered their price and people stopped buying because they thought it was a cheap Scotch.
Yeah.
Right? So it had been considered an awesome Scotch that you buy for others, that's for special occasions, that's super high class and high quality and whatever.
Yeah.
And so when you're buying Scotch, that's what you would buy it for. Otherwise, just buy a cheap rice wine or something. I don't know. Whatever you buy, a beer, a sake, whatever. And now it's flipped, right? Where they can't sell their Scotch because it's inexpensive.
Man.
So I don't know what it is, but it feels like something, flipping my script, having a little swagger and saying, no, they have to prove to me whether they're going to be a good client.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that was not, and like I said, it's increased my cost of acquiring a customer. It's increased my CAC. I do believe, though, it's increasing my LTV. I'm going to have them longer. I'm going to be able to sell them more stuff. We're going to have a reasonable relationship. They're not going to nickel and dime me. I'm not going to nickel and dime them, that sort of stuff. Like, it's going to be a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to a transactional relationship.
Yeah.
I don't have time for a transactional relationship. So I'm willing to spend some time on my CAC, increasing my CAC, to make sure my LTV is higher.
You have become a scarce resource.
I guess.
And that's attractive. Back in college, chicks dug the assholes.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess, yeah.
You're the asshole now.
Yeah, now I'm the asshole. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
But in all honesty and in all seriousness, I've heard two situations now where you have effectively fired a client, and they have circled back around to you with more. And it's an interesting and really powerful lesson for me and my business.
I had someone who originally made in one of those cases, I had someone who originally made the original introduction call me after when they had found out the person circled around and I was open to talking to them. They actually texted me and they're like, I hear you're talking to so-and-so again. I'm surprised to hear that based upon how you left it last time. And I think it's that sort of thing where it's, I'm surprised to see that you're willing to listen to them, which then now I've changed my stature in the advisor's mind as well. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Super powerful. And I'm really proud of you for making those choices. And
it also helps these advisors that are sending things my way. It helps them qualify better.
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't going to be for Richard. This is anyway.
So this is interesting. So our topic today is, when do you hire your first salesperson? And one of the interesting things about this is you don't have a salesperson, right? You are founder-led sales
100%
at this point. And maybe this is just making excuses for myself, right? In my mind, that gives you certain freedom to turn business away.
100%.
So I have a salesperson, and I feel like if I refuse business, which I've done, I feel like I'm taking kind of food off his table, which I don't feel good about. But it does put us in some unnatural positions where we are maybe taking business that we wouldn't typically take.
Do you have a bad cop then?
I'm the bad cop.
No.
Yeah, I'm the bad cop.
Yeah. So I often get used for exactly this.
Yeah.
What's interesting is I'll get used for exactly this by the head of sales, not the CEO, by the head of sales.
Interesting.
Because the head of sales doesn't want to step on his or her people and tell them no or demoralize them or whatever.
Yeah.
That's their fear.
Right.
And so it's like, they'll bring me a deal and I'm like, this doesn't fit. Like, this deal is in Finland. It's a one-off. It has no strategic value, and it's going to cost an arm and a leg to implement and support. What the hell are you doing? Yeah, but so-and-so brought it to me. I don't want to say no. Okay, I'll say no. Yeah. Would you? Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they bring me a deal they know is bad, and they're hoping
that you're the bad guy.
That I'm the bad guy. That's a fine role for me to play.
Yeah.
I invite people to use your CFO as the bad guy. Good cop, bad cop is a thing.
Yeah. And there is such a thing as bad business, right? We have
100%.
I have gotten us into trouble by extending our core services and taking maybe smaller deals, and those inevitably go to shit. And it's not good for the client. It's not good for us. It's creates all kinds of friction. We end up losing money on them. And I did it because I wanted to be a good guy and not turn business away. But I think this is a really powerful lesson that we really should stick to the core of what we are today and what we strategically want to be tomorrow.
I actually had a client when I was in Chicago working for the big CPA firm. It was a downstate, like a paper manufacturer, something like that. So old line industry. So maybe this doesn't apply to all industries. That's the only reason why I offer this. Is they went through and they found, because they manufactured a thing and then it went through distribution and wholesale or even direct sales. And they found that just like anything, Pareto matters. The 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. And in fact, the rule being in generally 20% of some market, of some installed base of something, generates 80% of the returns, and then the other 80% generate 20% of the returns. In their case, they stratified their customer base, and they found that it was less about 80%, 20% of their customers were generating 80% of their revenues, which almost everyone can go through that process. You find that a few customers generate a disproportional share of your revenues, and that everybody else generates the smaller portion. Sometimes all your profit is in that smaller portion, so you got to be like, I'm not saying do this all the time, but what they found was more than 100% of their profits were related to these 20 clients. So the 20 clients generated 80% of their revenues, but those revenues were the only profitable revenues.
Wow.
The 80% of the customers that were generating 20% of the revenues, but the cost of servicing those revenues and the cost of, right? I mean, the customer support, the billing, the account management, whatever was necessary. Sometimes small production runs to fill, orders in between the cracks, et cetera, that this 80% of the customers actually, while generating 20% of the revenues, actually incurred more costs than those 20% of the revenues.
Wow.
So they didn't go all the way back, but they went back to about 50% of the customers they had before. So their revenues were about 90% of what they had before, right? So they went down by 10%. Their profits went up by 30%.
Wow.
The profits went up by more than their revenues went down. So it is tough, especially for entrepreneurs, but it is tough for businesses. They were a publicly held company, small NASDAQ listed company, to make the decision to have revenues decrease. Earnings per share went up, but to go to the market and say, yeah, revenues were $100 million last year, now they're 90. Now, earnings went from $10 million to $13 million or something like that. But that's a difficult decision for a lot of companies to make. How can we walk away from business?
That's ballsy.
But there absolutely is something that is bad business. There absolutely is bad revenue.
100%. There's a book. It's been written a long time ago now. I think it's Timothy Ferriss that wrote it. The 4-Hour Work Week. The premise of that book, I don't really buy, but it begins with, he tells a story or parable or whatever at the beginning, that he fired, just like you're talking about, the vast majority of his clients, kept a small portion that allowed him to take his 80-hour week down to 4 hours a week and properly serve them, and what that did for his business. And the end of the story is, became wildly more profitable and spent very little time on his business. And so
you need to understand your business really, really well. And here's a counterpoint, a counter story. Eggs. The average farmer in America in like 1900, let's say they did wheat.
Okay.
Wheat, corn, soybean, whatever. They also had chickens on the farm.
Okay.
And they would sell the eggs $1 a dozen or whatever it was at the time. That's probably even too much. 25 cents a dozen. Anyway, they sold eggs on the side. And then egg production became its own thing. And so the average farmer whose main line of business was not eggs, kind of got out of the egg business. And a lot of family farms were substantially impacted by that change. But it was hard to unpack what really was happening. All they knew is farming is so much harder now. It's so much, right? I'm so much more prone to volatility and the cost changes and spot market, whatever. It was because if they had like a 100-acre farm and they made $1 an acre, they made $100.
Right.
And on the side, they made $10 on eggs.
Yep. Without ever noticing it.
Without ever noticing, because it wasn't their main line or whatever. So sure, we can give that up.
Right.
But it
was all their margin.
That $10 of eggs was 100% margin.
Yeah.
And so when you looked at their income statement, it's like we went from 110 to 100, but we went from $10 to $0.
Yeah.
Because in profit.
Yeah.
Right? We went to break even.
Yeah.
Because
that's interesting.
Eggs is what, because all their other costs were covered by the main production, by wheat, corn, whatever, but their profit was all in the ancillary stuff that they were doing because it was 100% margin stuff. There's no way that they could have made a business out of just eggs because it was only $10. I can't live on $10.
Right.
But
that's fascinating.
It was 100% of their profit. So know your business is my point.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Know if it's really an 80-20 rule or not. In their case, it was not.
Yeah. Man, we were tapping on our topic, and now we moved away from it. I'm going to bring us back.
Time to circle back.
And so the topic, just to remind everybody, the topic today is, when do you know, as an entrepreneur or as a CEO, when do you know it's time to hire your first salesperson? Yes, sir.
So you had mentioned as a founder, as a CEO, as an operator, you've got more juice than your salespeople will ever have.
Yep.
You can accept deals, right? That's just needs to be taken as fact.
Yeah, you can make all the decisions.
You can offer discounts that they can't offer. You can add incentives that they can't add. You can talk about a product roadmap that they can't talk about, and provide the client with a future that that your staff cannot.
Yep.
You
can make commitments on behalf of the enterprise.
Yeah.
The business, not the enterprise, but the business that nobody else can. Yep.
So when going back to your question then about when is it time to hire your first salesperson, in your past, for companies where you felt it was necessary to do those things, and you must reach a point. So my presumption is you must reach a point where you don't have to do those things. Isn't that the time when it's appropriate to hire someone?
Where you don't have to do what things? Where
you don't have to, in order to get the deal, you don't have to think about pricing, not have creativity beyond, and can operate by policy.
Let me reflect what I think you mean in more granular terms.
Yeah, okay.
There's product market fit, right? You know someone wants whatever it is you're selling. There's price market fit. You know there's a value that people will pay for that.
Got it. I had not heard that before.
But I think I might be making this up. I don't know.
But I get your point.
At the end of the day, all the elements that go into, people will buy the stuff that we make or do for the price that we ask them to pay.
Yep.
Plus the cost of the salesperson. Salespeople are expensive, and the vast majority of them are a pain in the ass.
So it's also a function of volume.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Right. The salesperson, regardless of whether you are Ford Motor Company or Integrate IQ or Impact Solutions, has to pay for themselves. That's the bare minimum bar. They have to pay for themselves. If they can't pay for themselves, and that's not pay for themselves in gross revenue, that is what they bring in.
Yeah.
Let's say you pay a salesperson $100,000. They have to bring in effectively $100,000 in profit.
100%. Yep.
In order to just
justify themselves.
Just to break even.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would argue this is back to our 4-hour work week, conversation. If they can't do that, or if they only do that, what's the benefit? Yeah. It's a headache. So keep it small, keep it your own. But if you believe you're at a place where you can begin to scale through another person focused on sales, then that's the time. And for me, in my past, I have become just so crushed under all the stuff, right? The finance, the strategy, the partners, the on and on and on and on, the vendors, delivering the solutions in some case, customer service issues, support. I wasn't able to focus on sales in any meaningful way anymore, right? So I had been fully consumed by everything, and now it's almost desperation. I need somebody else to focus on this, and we need to right size their comp package so that they break even. Whether that is making, depending on the lifestyle, on the sort of life stage of the company, whether that's something like, I'm going to give you lots of upside, but it's going to be mostly at your risk, salesperson. So I'm going to give you a small salary so you can pay your bills and a really great commission plan. Or if I'm in a bigger
lowers the hurdle rate to hire them. Then
lowers the risk to the business to hire them. Now, it takes a special salesperson to believe enough in themselves and in the business to take that, or a desperate enough salesperson to take that, right? Because someone who can't rub two nickels together because they can't sell anything might go,
I'll take it.
I'll take that very low salary because
it's better than nothing.
So in a perfect world, you hire your first salesperson when you have product market fit, price market fit, and you have a reasonable expectation that you can scale. And if that's true, then scale with 1. And if that works, scale with 1,000 and make it go. So go fast, really invest heavily in that if it's a proven model.
Yeah, part of what you said also, so tell me if I'm wrong, part of what I heard also was, as a entrepreneur, as a founder, you wear many hats.
Yep.
And so once I feel like the person has a chance of being successful, i.e. product market fit, price fit, and that they can drive enough volume to pay for themselves, right? So I got a product that fits at a price that we can make money, and I believe they can sell enough volume to at least pay for themselves, then that's a hat I want to take off.
It's a hat I have to take off so that I can scale elsewhere in the business.
Yeah. You are a unique. You're in one category of founder who's a sales-oriented person.
Yep.
I have met a number of founders who are technical or product-oriented person.
Yeah, right.
So their desire to take that sales hat off, because it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's
uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it is, if you're a quant guy, there's a lot of qual to it.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot of qualitative aspects to it, not just quantitative. So if you're an engineering type who's used to the quantitative aspects, it can feel really uncomfortable. Right? Those all lead, you mentioned uncomfortable, but these are just I'm trying to unpack what uncomfortable means a little. And so I can imagine there are a lot of founders who are, oh dear God, this is the first hat I'm getting rid of.
Yeah.
And they may do that before there's product market fit, before they know whether there's a sufficient volume to help that the person will be successful, before, like you mentioned price market fit. So in that case, a founder can give all sorts of product changes, promises, etc. A founder can give all sorts of pricing, creativity, discounts, and whatever. And then a founder is just trying to make sure there's sufficient volume for the business, right? So not just to pay for themselves, but if you're incented for emotional reasons to want to get rid of that hat before these three, How bad is that? What happens? What's your recommendation? What do you think?
That's a really good point. I've met a fair number of technical
Right.
founders that couldn't sell their way out of a paper bag.
No.
And they're brilliant people.
It's not about smarts.
It's just not their skill set.
Yeah.
Or their desire, right? It's not their personality makeup. They would rather be in a dark room with nobody else around them coding. Or
there's dog people, there's cat people. It doesn't make them good. It doesn't make them bad. Yeah. It's just who they are.
Except dog people are better. I think we can all agree to that. Yeah, dog people. So in that instance, it's a really good question. In that instance, I think it has to be a very practical, because a technical founder may not be good at all at the selling part, at the commercial part. They may not come up with the right pricing. They may not interact with other people because they don't want to interact with other people. Their business may be held back as a result of them not taking on or being effective.
And keeping that hat too long
at a commercial role. So I would say is in that instance, it takes a pretty self-aware person to know this. In that instance, I would say as soon as you can afford it, even if that means raising money so that you can afford someone, or giving away maybe some equity, so that you can bring in a partner. Right? I think about like we talked about at Mobile Evolution, bringing in a commercial person and giving away a ton of equity for that, but ultimately we couldn't come to terms with that person that we had in mind. So as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And there's lots of ways to do it, I think is my point.
Because in thinking about this further, just on the spot, a good technical founder, product focused person, that first bucket of product market fit, they come across a interested party for it. And it's not just about, am I finding product market fit? It's, I can do that for you. Sure, we can do it, right? Because you're an inventor by nature.
Yeah.
And so you want to invent stuff that solves whatever. And it turns out you invented a thing that solves one person's problem, not a market's problem, right? Or whatnot. Right. So I could almost argue having the market intelligence to keep you in the box, almost, not that it ever would work, but to keep you in the box almost would be valuable if you could keep yourself in a box.
And the discipline to keep yourself in the box.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's really interesting.
I had not thought about it before. Yeah. Because we all know inventor types that love to solve problems, and then they get faced with an ancillary or esoteric problem outside the core, and they're like, sure, we can do that. And now they're on a tangent.
So do inventor types necessarily have to be paired with a commercial type?
There are, interesting enough, we were talking about a particular VC firm today who kind of demand that.
Yeah.
That is part of their investment thesis, not just product, right? So you bet on the horse, you bet on the rider. And in this case, these are early stage investors, and they do both. They've got a thesis around what an investment, the right product, vertical, industry, whatever looks like, i.e. the horse.
Yeah.
And they've got a thesis around what the right founding teams look like. It's like no more than two folks, but no less than two folks. And one has to be technical and know the product, and the other has to be commercial and know the market and be able to sell whatever. Right? Those, they want to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure they're wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're wrong either.
It's an interesting thesis.
Yeah.
I don't have any data on it yet, but it's an interesting thesis.
Yeah. So what, right. I've talked myself into circles here.
No, this is good.
My guess, I'm trying to,
when is it time to hire the?
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is net it out. Right. So is there a way for us to provide some direction or a suggestion or ideas or a framework for people to think about when it's time to bring?
I've got an opinion.
Give me.
Okay. If you're a good operator, if you're a good business person, commercial side person, um, intellectually decide whether you have product market fit, i.e., would a new salesperson have something to sell?
Yep. Okay.
Intellectually decide, do I have price market fit, i.e., can we sell this for a price that generates sufficient return for the organization to meet its needs, right? And
Yep.
sufficient price.
Yeah.
Um, and and then intellectually decide, if I bring in someone, do they have the chance at selling it at sufficient volume, not just to pay for themselves, but to generate growth for the business, not just revenue growth, but growth for the business.
Yeah.
Then the answer clearly is yes. Like, that's a great checklist to be like, I'm a good operator. I know what I'm doing, and I know I need to take this hat off. And what I'm going to look for is A, B, and C. And if I got A, B, and C, great. And if I don't, there's a checklist to work on, or I'm going to backfill the person a little in this area, this area, this area. Right. I'm going to give them, maybe the product's not quite there yet, but you can, like, what you do can get a good price, and there's plenty of market opportunity. Well, maybe I'll give them a little room on how much they can talk about the future. Or if you get, new salesperson, if you get pushback on the product roadmap or whatever, bring me in. I got your back, right? Something, right? You now have a roadmap for deciding, if there's weakness in any one of the three, here's how I'm going to help you out.
Right. Yeah.
If you're a technical person and you hate sales and it's an area that you want to pull off, or you're an inventor type that is going to fiddle with the product until the cows come home, maybe instead of hiring a salesperson, an account manager or whatever, you look for a partner. And that partner can help you get those three, help you make sure you're staying within a product roadmap that's going to result in product market fit, that they are good at and continue to do the market research to find a price at which it's all going to work. And you can later delve into, is there enough market to make this worthwhile to bring on the next person?
Right. Yep.
I don't know. That's just
I think that's good
thought.
Yeah. I think that's good structure.
Can I, if I can add one piece to the pricing side, and I guess it's related to the volume, but the pricing side, there is and I think I already mentioned, maybe if not in this, then definitely during our chit chat before, LTV to CAC, the long-term value of a customer to the cost of acquiring a customer.
Yeah.
Long-term value, LTV, CAC, cost of acquiring a customer. There are metrics that VCs look to in terms of LTV to CAC, and it's not a huge number. I personally like anything over 3 to 4, but it's actually smaller than that. I think that happens in those cases where they assume it's more like a SaaS revenue. It's an ongoing revenue stream.
Right.
But isn't that already in your LTV? Like, I don't understand their thinking. So they're like, oh yeah, anything that's like 2 and above or 1.7 and above is okay. I'm like, I want to see 3 or 4. I want to see at least the possibility of 3 or 4. 1, to make up for mistakes, and 2, that to me is, how you said that, is the salesperson going to have enough volume to pay for themselves plus?
Right.
I don't know why, but I always like to sell, or I always like to ask for, can the person's target sales be at least 3 to 4 times, and generally in a high margin business, 3 to 4 times their cost.
Yeah.
So if you got a 50% margin and it's a $100,000 person, I want to see $600,000 to $800,000.
That's funny.
Isn't it about right?
I have, I've made my career selling into enterprise accounts, and that somewhat informs what that revenue target is for a salesperson. And for the average salesperson, I would say the target is invariably between 1.25 million and 1.5 million. I mean, it's just
Always that number.
always how it ends up, which gives you it gives you lots of room as for a sales total comp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say total comp, I mean salary and commission. So yeah, it's funny.
So 1.5. Let's take 1.5 as an example. At 1.5, that person's making $250,000.
Yep.
Okay. So what are we at? That's a 6 multiple there.
Yep.
But that $250,000 doesn't include travel and entertainment, the marketing cost, the
benefits,
taxes and benefits and stuff on top of that,
stuff,
right?
yeah.
So if you think their 250 is more like 500, right? When you're including the overhead and all those ancillary marketing costs, travel and entertainment, et cetera, we're kind of right in that 3+ range, right? If the total cost is 333, then $1 million is a 3x. If the total cost is 400,000, then it's 1.2, right? So 1.5 ends up being like 3 to 4 times. Again, I don't know why it always comes down for me to an LTV to CAC of it's got to be 3+.
Yeah. And that has to be reasonable margin on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it can't be break even revenue.
No. I'm otherwise you don't have a business. Find something else to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you got a 50% margin business, they're making themselves plus delivering another that size at a 4x. They're paying for themselves and all the other marketing costs associated with it. By themselves, I mean the broader set, and delivering another 25% to the business. Yeah. Hopefully, if that's ongoing revenue, then that becomes a 50% margin ongoing.
Right? As we're having this discussion, I keep having these little things pop in my head. One is as you scale sales, let's say someone comes in and does $1.5 million, $2 million in profitable revenue.
Mm-hmm.
You have to balance your team so that you have operationally, you can ingest that and support it and give your customers a great experience. So while we're talking today about sales, remember there's a whole nother side to this, that as you scale your business, it's not just sales and profitable sales. It's also, you have to keep your operations team so they can deliver the experience that your customers expect.
Do you stay in pretty close touch? I assume you do with your salespeople then, because the first place that unhappy customer is going to call is not the operations team who is screwing up the implementation or who's under-resourced for the implementation or whatever. They call the salesperson. They're like, "Hey,
what have you done?"
I need you to go kick some butt. Can you fix this? Is it? And then I'm assuming they come to you and they're like, "Look, I'm sorry, but the operations team has got to get this together," or something. Or they go straight to the operations team like, "Guys, I'm getting calls from this client. You need to fix this."
Yeah. So interestingly,
or are you so awesome you don't ever get those calls?
Yeah. Interestingly, in this business, if there's an issue, it is our operations team. There's a true and pretty complete handoff between sales and operations.
Great.
So when a deal is closed,
Great.
It is, here you go.
Yeah.
Here it is all packaged up in a bow. Operations, now you're off to the races, and they are in weekly, for sure, frequently daily contact with the customer. So that
client dissatisfaction will go straight to operations. Yeah. Is still though, there's got to be a pressure release valve where they'll go to if they don't feel like they're getting it from operations. They go elsewhere.
Escalate to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, great.
It's typically escalated to me. Now,
that'll be true for only so long.
Not to brag.
Yeah.
I don't get very many of those.
Yeah, great. Yeah. No, I get that.
Happy.
I get that.
I
was just wondering.
There was one other thing that I thought of a long time ago that I just wanted to add to our conversation around bringing on your first salesperson. And we said price market fit. I think there's another element to that is structured price market fit. And what I mean by that is there has to be, let's call it a price list, a set price for a solution of some sort, so that you're not making stuff up every time you try to sell, where you say our price is 10, the customer says I can only pay 8, and you go, well, how's 8.5 sound? There's a
rationale.
There's a rationale there, and
100%.
Effectively there's a price list, right? So
100%. Yep.
That's when you begin to create a sales machine, a repeatable sales machine, right? And it works in businesses as much as it works in product businesses. For my history, I have built up for services an hourly rate and an estimated level of effort. Multiply those two things, there's your price. So I don't fiddle with that too much. There is a rationale behind the prices that I have always provided.
So interesting. So the implication of what you just said is, Richard, it's a greater indicator of success, of the company's success to me, or the company's maturity, is not product market fit. It's discipline to our objective price list.
Maybe that's what I said. It's not what I meant to say.
Okay.
I think it's a...
Because if so, that's something I'm telling all my VC buddies.
I think it's it's two sides, right? First is you have to have product market fit. People have to be interested in your solution.
That's a basic hurdle.
Yeah. So that's the low bar, or the gate to get in the game.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is you don't have true price market fit if you're negotiating every deal and every customer gets a different deal.
I get your...
So you have price market fit when you have a price that people are willing to pay.
Yeah. And that's what I meant by discipline to it was that it's not just your rationale, it's that it's rational.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You may have rationalized a price list, but the market trumps all. And so when there is discipline around that, and not just necessarily your discipline, but when the behavior around it is disciplined, it's actually a better indication of the organization's readiness to scale than merely product market fit, which you could achieve outside of someone's willingness to exchange a level of resources that makes it worth your damn while to provide that product market fit.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I got product market fit. I solve an important problem and people love it. It just cost me $100,000 to deliver, and they're willing to pay $50,000 for it. Right?
Right.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Our car. We drive a Rivian. Every Rivian costs Rivian $100,000 to build.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're $80,000 right now is how they're going to market. They're losing $20,000 on every single Rivian.
Yeah. They'll make it up in volume.
They have not yet, but and I think this is where Tesla started too.
Yeah. Every new Boeing airplane starts out the same way. The first one is like 3 times the cost. The learning, the manufacturing learning curve is so steep that they lose money on the first 50 or something. Not a small number of airplanes.
Right.
And then they make it on the last 1,000. But it is a common refrain for especially manufactured products that the first ones cannot justify the price point, and that you have to build toward manufacturability and
scale.
Reduce those costs
by
to a fraction of what they once were.
Man. Interesting. When we started this conversation tonight, I thought we would get around to tariffs,
Yeah.
which I'm super interested in.
Yeah.
I think I feel
We're out of
complete.
time.
I feel complete.
Yeah.
I would like to talk about tariffs and its impact on the economy.
Yeah.
And
I got lots of opinions.
Yeah. So maybe we can circle back around to that
Yeah.
another time.
Do that another time.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
All right. Are you feeling complete? Okay.
My brain is full.
All right. Well,
My brain is full. I've enjoyed this conversation.
that's good.
But my brain is full, and that means it's usually time to sit down and get another drink.
I love it. Let's watch some football. All right, folks. That's Armchair Quarterbacks for this week. We'll talk to you again.
Adieu.